Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. As we approach this Vesak week, the theme of the middle way comes up in connection to the story of the Bodhisattva, how he came out of a life of sensual pleasure as a child of a ruling class family, where indeed the pleasures of life were very much connected with that lifestyle. There's a wonderful book called Daily Life in Ancient India that describes, based on many sources from a kind of a historical perspective, how the different classes of people lived, what it was like to be a Brahmin background person, or to be a worker, to be a slave, or to be of the warrior clan, the ruling class clan. And indeed that the background that the Buddha came from, as she described it, one would get up in the morning and have time dressing oneself and putting on the makeup and having one's hair taken care of, and coming down for a wonderful, elaborate kind of a breakfast and a meal, and then one would have entertainment, constant entertainment with musicians and poets and playwrights, and a daily activity, possibly. I suppose the main meal of the day, around noontime, would be a very big event indeed. I can remember when I was much younger, my in-laws, when I was married, used to go to Martha's Vineyard and have these family holidays in a little house, and that's exactly how it was. Every morning it would be like going to the local produce market and the seafood market and getting fresh fish or fresh meat and fresh vegetables and fresh things, and then coming back and preparing a really wonderful gourmet meal. And then they used to, this is my in-laws, they had a little small kind of a sailboat thingy that they could ride down a pond to get to the beach, and then spend some time at the beach, and then go home and play cards or spend the evening drinking and so forth. So it was like, this is how this lifestyle of pleasure is, and it's not just any old pleasure, but it's looking for the creme de la creme, the greatest, the most beautiful, the finest, the most loveliest kind of pleasures, and the idea that if you could have everything be perfect, that would be what you were aiming for a happy life, a pleasant life. So the Buddha, he realized that doesn't provide any safety, that kind of happiness is weak, unreliable, fleeting and brings as much trouble as it brings goodness. And so he gave that up and went on his quest. And then it seems like in a certain way, his experiences with the Brahmanical meditation teachers were more addressing to the middle way in relation to right view, and realizing that the practices that they taught did not lead to the end of suffering, more so because of not being founded in right view. But then in the last part, just before his awakening, the Buddha had tried to. He'd given up his teachers and he tried to strive with extreme hardship, extremely austere practices. So it's the middle way between self-mortification and sensual pleasure as the way of practice. It doesn't mean that the way of practice is in between making too much effort and making not enough effort. That's not quite what the middle way is pointing to. Actually, the middle way is pointing to the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the middle way of practice. And the Eightfold Noble Path is the alternative way of life that doesn't fall into the extremities of self-mortification, self-torture, self-punishment, nor the extremity of sensuality and seeking the escape from suffering through sensual pleasures. I think it was mentioned by somebody that the part of the story of the Bodhisattva practicing the extreme self-mortification it doesn't appear in all of the texts. It's in our Pali text, but perhaps it's not in some of the Chinese agamas, which are coming from also a very ancient lineage. And so it's possible that at some time in the evolution of the way that Dhamma was remembered, it seemed to be important to have the Buddha's, the Bodhisattva's biographical story be matching to the instruction that he gave in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, in which he pointed out that he teaches the middle way in between the extremes of sensuality or the extremes of self-mortification. I don't believe that the Bodhisattva was doing those self-mortification practices as a way to punish himself or because of self-hatred or something like that. I'm sure that the Bodhisattva was far, far beyond any such impulses of that nature. Of course, we don't. It is possible that self-punishment can be arising from a space of hatred. The way that we punish criminals, or that we punish our enemies, or that sometimes a parent would punish a child, could be very much based in anger and hatred and fear, and that punitive approach could become internalized in an adult person, and so then someone could find that, to some extent you have discovered within yourself certain kinds of self-destructive tendencies. It's not even necessary to parse out why and where these things come from, but the Buddha was aiming for the destruction of the unwholesome states of mind. He's aiming for the destruction of the deep roots of dukkha in greed, hatred, and delusion. He's looking for the destruction of the what's called the taints or the corruptions, which are sensuality, the craving for existence, the taint of ignorance, on some of the list, the taint of clinging to views, and it's possible that if you were a bodhisattva, and if the Dhamma has been completely lost, and you don't have a teacher who knows the answer, and you're on the quest with so much integrity, so much intelligence, so much sincerity to really discover what is the way coming to break this knot of suffering that affects human beings, or that affects all beings, then it's possible that there could be some sort of like confusion of the categories, like what part of the phenomenon that we experience are we trying to cut out. And that whole possibility of, it's like a kind of a mistaken categories, to say that as a human being, I have the capacity for sensual craving, for sensual desire is one of the qualities that I possess. And so thinking that I have to cut that part out and keep some other part, it does, you could see how that could lead to some kind of a category, a confusion that could lead a spiritual seeker to be undertaking these extremely austere practices, where they try to not allow themselves to experience any kind of pleasure whatsoever, because they see the danger in seeking happiness by way of sensual pleasure, and they're not yet able to make the distinction. And so then, but the middle way, the way that the Buddha is teaching, it's not really a middle way in between self-mortification and pleasure-seeking. It's really a completely different paradigm, where one is not holding on to anything at all. So instead of thinking like in that paradigm of right effort, thinking I have within me a mixture of good qualities and bad qualities, and I want to kill the bad qualities, destroy them, eradicate them, kill them, burn the seed so they never can come back again, with this absolute destruction, And then, in the meantime, this other side of me, which is wholesome, is going to be nourished and cultivated and allowed to grow and develop the way that one would be a farmer or a gardener, and trying to. I guess you got some flowers, that you plant the seed and you're trying to protect them so that they can grow and come into their full beauty of their blossom. Or if you've got some, chicks or something, and you want to make sure that nothing happens to them so that they can grow up to be chickens, and so you're treating your good qualities like that. That's really not very much to do with the real middle way that the Buddha is teaching. And yet, these kind of homely analogies are a part of the Eightfold Path. So it is really true on the Eightfold Path that one would strive to not intentionally kill. Never. And if you had a willingness to kill, or a tendency to kill, a desire to kill, you would crush that. You would be willing to sacrifice yourself if you were somebody who was really trying to practice the Eightfold Path, and you were drafted into the army or something like that. You would be a conscientious objector, because you would refuse to kill. Even if you got put in jail because of it, you would just refuse to kill no matter what. And so there is that kind of extremism, but this path the trainee's path, or I should say even the preliminary path, before one has had the breakthrough of wisdom, is based on an idea that these dichotomies are actually not really the issue. That instead, the issue is about how the faculties that we cling to and identify with, like the five aggregates, that we, if we take them on, identify with them, make them a part of ourself, cling to them, that is feeding, continuing to go around in this cycle of rebirth. But if we don't cling and have a mind which is completely patient and open to the situation that we find ourselves in, being a flesh and blood type of creature living in this kind of world, the kind of world that we live in, with acceptance of what is, not exerting any craving, any clinging, any identification with any state of existence, then it's possible to see through that veil of delusions, especially delusions about the self, and to experience this world and our existence as a flow of conditions. It is quite important in this Noble Eightfold Path that the Buddha recognized the safe, wholesome, the kind of happiness that doesn't have the negative repercussions of sensual desire, and making this path of practice into actually a joyful path, or even at the initial stages of discovering that a person has got the agency, or that a person has the ability to make ethical choices, and that you're not required to kill, to steal, to lie, to do all kinds of misconduct. You've got the power to make a choice. You're not just a victim of society and emotions and whatever other impulses or whatever other emotions that cause people to do bad things. That actually you have the ability. You can do this. It's not necessary to be immoral. One can become a ethically mature person and look deeply at these situations, and be able to make those right choices. And there's the joy that comes from that. That's like the initial pamoja, this joy, this confidence, this faith, and then with being able to develop the ability to look inwards, to understand our inward psychology, our inward states of mind, to realize that also even though the mind is difficult to control, the mind is flopping around like a fish out of water. It's hard to catch that fish when it's trying to jump back and get back into the creek. But nevertheless, it is possible to take hold of the mind. It is possible to make choices, even if a person finds some of these wholesome states to be difficult to develop. If you could say that because somebody is overwhelmed with negative emotions, it's difficult for them to develop loving kindness. But then they find out every once in a while a person might forget to be sad or forget to be anxious, and in some kind of situation experience being flooded with that beautiful, positive, healing, wholesome, beneficial thought of loving kindness. And one could, if we've encountered these teachings, learn that these kind of thoughts can be cultivated on purpose. And we have the capacity to make those kind of choices. And so then, with that ability to make choices about what kind of inner states we welcome and nourish, and which ones we denourish and abandon, then one can come to that state of seclusion from sensual craving, and seclusion from unwholesome states of mind, which is the entry to samadhi. And that's kind of like where the real transformation is in Buddhism, where this path, this middle path, truly becomes a path of joy, a path of really profound, deep happiness, which is the kind of happiness that we don't have to worry about and be fearful about that we're going to get addicted to the happiness of seclusion from unwholesome states of mind. We don't have to worry about that. We can just cultivate those states and let those let the piti and sukha, the bliss and happiness of meditation, be a protection for us, a source of courage for us, so that we're then able to look at anything in this world and to see things just the way they are, to not be blinkered and bound up and tied up and imprisoned by a certain set of stories that we tell ourselves are the stories that we receive from our culture, or the stories that we've concocted about our own existence. But instead, because of the bliss and happiness of samadhi, whatever kind of stories like start to get spinning up, you just know that's not the entire picture. There is something else which is beyond the stories or the sankharas that the mind keeps on concocting. You know there's something boundless and has that safety, and you can dwell and rely on that to grow in this practice, to grow in wisdom until it reaches the point that maybe even that piti sukha, that bliss and happiness is too much excitement, and the mind doesn't require that much movement or that much agitation anymore, and the mind is more inclining towards stillness, in which case the mind can go into a state that's quite neutral. But even then, that it's said by the wise that there's a happiness of one who is equanimous and mindful. So even equanimity, you think equanimity is kind of like neutral. It doesn't get happy and it doesn't get sad. It stays like in the middle. But actually, equanimity is a truly, deeply, profoundly happy state. It can be then that then there are even more profounder levels of stillness, spaciousness, freedom that are part of the track of meditation, but also part of the there's the practice, if you said there's the practice side and the wisdom side. So on the practice side, the follower of the Buddha who has the ability to practice samadhi does not anymore get bound up with sensual pleasures, and then does not have the requirement of attempting extreme or self-harming practices as a way of attempting to annihilate something within. but instead one has a completely practical, sensible attitude towards this, like this living body. So we know to nourish this body, to keep it safe, to get enough exercise, to get enough enough rest. So if you would just walk 5 or 10 miles every morning on your alms round, and get one simple meal, and then spend the afternoon abiding at the foot of a tree practicing meditation, and then continue practicing, perhaps have some conversation about the Dhamma along the way, and coming back and practicing meditation during the first watch of the night, that's up until 10 o'clock, and then mindfully taking rest from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. That's the middle watch of the night, and then get up again at 2 and continue your meditation, and then around about morning time again, get ready for that 10-mile walk to make your way to the village to find some alms food. That would be like a sort of an ultimate of a middle way of practice, which is so healthy and friendly to the body, healthy and friendly and balanced for the mind, because it would be a lifestyle that has got an aspect of the physical, an aspect of conversation, which is conversation that's relevant to the goal. It's about that which we are seeking in our practice, and then having enough time for rest and enough time for practicing meditation. And somewhere in there, I guess we get to do our chores as well. So that's the middle way, and that was the practice that the Bodhisattva undertook in the week leading up to Vesak, when he gave up his fasting and took some milk rice from the lady Sujata, and with that nourishment had the strength and the ability to take his final practice of meditation, vowing to stay still in meditation, to exert the extremes of his mental strength to break through the veil of ignorance and to discover the way. So in this way, I've managed to make a little bit of a connection between this idea of having the balance between relaxation and exertion, with also coming up to the theme of the biography of the Bodhisattva, our teacher, who became the Buddha on this very night, this coming Saturday or Sunday, which we'll be commemorating as the Vesak. Now, I'd like to welcome any comments or questions that anybody might have, and I'm especially interested in knowing what you have actually learned for yourself as you try to find the right practice between striving and relaxing in your own meditation practice. Welcome, Andrew, Ananaya, Chintana, Daniel, Elaine, Katie, Leo, Mima, Rami, Ren, Richard, Sam Sahal, Shari, Tavari, and Sochi, and the others at the Wapudana Sorn. I'm very happy to see you all tonight. Okay, Richard.
Thank you, Ayya. Can you hear me all right?
Your sound tends to always be just slightly low, but I can make you louder in this room by going to my settings. There, now your sound is very good.
Okay, thank you. No, it's just the other Bhikkhuni in the last class that they were having a hard time hearing me. Um, so my view is that this striving, when it comes to actually preliminary activity and entering into jhana, is that relaxation is the way to enter into the jhana. You're not supposed to be torturing yourself. You're supposed because Buddha says samatha vipassana. So samatha is like some people translate it as tranquilizing, but it's more like settling down, right?
Yeah.
And then observing how that process is going on, so that you're mastering it. So that the super masters of that, Buddha said, just as quickly as a strong man can flex his arm, they can go automatically to any level of jhana, or create a mind-made body and go to the Brahma realm, or things like that. So I think if a person is suffering a lot in their practice, um, it's just really a distraction. And it's going to be hard to settle the mind down due to that. So one might need to do a different practice that leads to more tranquility of mind. And I know that it's quoted sometimes that the Buddha said, when the night he was going to go for enlightenment, that he sat down with the determination that even if his blood dried up in his body, dried out, like blew away in the wind, he wasn't going to get up. But Buddha was already a master of the jhanas, all the way up to even the formless states. He could instantly go right up into those states. He wasn't gonna feel anything in his body, because he was shooting for, is there something beyond the fourth formless state? He came to that conclusion. There must be something beyond that, because that in and of itself is not nibbana. It's not, uh, total cessation. So I think sometimes that's misunderstood. That means he was going to just sit there and tough it out and torture himself ad infinitum. But no, and that's why he very quickly, just in that night, with that determination, with that level of determination, he very quickly in that night became a Buddha, attained arahantship. Also, I want to mention, talking about the two extremes, going to Sutta 56 in the fifth book of the Samyutta Nikaya, which is the setting in motion, the wheel of Dhamma. When Buddha starts out saying, bhikkhus, these two extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness. So I know it's sort of like common to think of this world of sensual desire as opposed to a monastic of certain philosophical dispositions torturing themselves or something like that. But it's really for the leavers of home. This is why Buddha, when he was teaching householders, he just talked about following the precepts, giving dana, things like that. And why is friendship and giving dana important? Because one is beginning to release things that one's attached to. So you first have to develop that mind. I'm going to start releasing these things. I'm not going to be attached to these things. Okay. I'm going to work for the benefit of others and things like that. Not just my family, not just my little clan or whatever, for the spiritual benefit, I should say, of others. So that dichotomy is there were leaders of homes of various sects, and some of them we see that even today. Very famous gurus, they get like 20 Rolls Royces and they live in mansions and they eat the finest food and travel first class everywhere they go in a jet or even getting private jets. Okay, so that's what it's supposedly they're a monastic, a leaver of home, but they're living this super luxurious life and just acquiring more and more luxuries. And then there's the other kind that we hear about, like Buddha practiced himself for a while, of the self torture side, that somehow torturing myself is going to clean off my old karma, so that I don't have any old karma anymore, and that sets me up for achieving a higher spiritual development or something like that. So, anyways, that's all I want to say for now. Thank you very much for
Okay.
listening.
Thank you for sharing. Colin Sochi?
Ah, thank you so much. Actually, I was just going to make a quick comment. I actually just attended a 10-day retreat, just came out of it a few days ago. But already I'm noticing how strong my habit energy is, because things that just a few days ago I was doing very mindfully, eating, getting the spoon, reaching for the door or something. It's like now I'm just like, just like running to my car and I go, wait, how could it happen so fast that, it was just a few days ago and I was like, noticing my steps. It's like already within a few days it's going. So it's like, it's hard to keep that intention to, be mindful and to build your mindfulness, because your habit energy is already there, so strong to me against that, like that force against it is just like, I don't know.
Well, it is a characteristic of the mind that one is able to, once you learn something, you can do it automatically. So, like you know how to read. When you read, you are not looking at each letter. You're not sounding out each syllable. Because you've already learned those patterns, you're able to read a whole sentence, a whole paragraph, and to get the meaning from it, and to know how to speak it. Just the same way, if you're breathing, you don't really need to be aware of breathing to breathe. Or if you're driving your car to the grocery store, it might be that you could find yourself arriving at the grocery store and you couldn't remember anything from the past 10 minutes of driving. It's because this is a quality that we have in our brain. It's so the mindfulness is a kind of like a specialized sort of doing something in like an unusual way of taking something that's normally invisible and making it visible to look at it. So I wouldn't be very disappointed or surprised because those old habits come back, but try to block out some areas of mindfulness in the day. One of my old teachers, Bhante Rahula, used to advise the M&M practice for people after they come home from retreat, which is called a minute of mindfulness. So if you come to a door, before going through the door, stop, stand, breathe, and then open the door and go through. Or if I know Thich Nhat Hanh teaches this. This is something that is kind of hilarious to me. But if you get a phone call So while the phone is ringing, he advises, breathing with compassion and loving kindness, and thinking, may I listen with an open mind, and may the words I have to speak be beneficial and helpful to the person, and then mindfully, and then so that's why I guess if you call one of the centers in that tradition, the phone may ring for a while before they pick up, because they were doing that little meditation before they picked up. So give yourself some triggers throughout the day to bring moments of mindfulness, but don't be surprised if the mind sometimes goes to automatic. It's not necessarily. It's not a bad thing. It's just that the full awareness is a specialized state of mind for the purpose of supporting meditation and supporting the insight into investigating the nature of our existence. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
I'll call on Daniel.
Yeah, I wanted to, you mentioned wanting to hear a little bit about our own kind of experiences of balance in our own practice. And I know for me, I'm just naturally a morning person. It's just my disposition. And so when at all possible, I'll meditate in the AM because it just comes a lot more easy. But I had an interesting experience recently of an evening, later in the evening meditation um, with a group in San Francisco in the Mission, which, for those who don't know, it's a noisy uh, part of San Francisco with plenty of cars and traffic and people hollering and whatnot. And it was sort of understood that well, it's going to be more noisy, so make sure to just be aware of that and bring your practice back away from the noise. But I actually found that setting that intention and almost expecting that it was going to be harder because of the noise made the practice easier. And that in a way, the noise was almost more helpful in sort of blocking out, paradoxically, the rest of the world. But I found it kind of surprising in that I did not struggle with falling asleep or sluggishness like I normally might in the evening. And that noise and that sort of setting that intention made, a significant difference.
Great, good, wonderful. That's a great sharing. Thank you so much. Just a couple of brief announcements. Mima, okay. Let me take your comment first, and then I'll give an announcement.
Thank you, Ayya. Something that just came up for me with Daniel's comment and what was said in your talk today. What I noticed is when my practice throughout the day off the cushion is I do catch the mind grasping a certain topic about certain people that are relatives. But what I'm noticing right now tonight is that I need to set the intention in order to have the determination. And I don't know, tonight I feel like with what you said earlier, it's like I need to exert effort in that area because the mind has just been like tumbling me all over the place and I haven't been able to get it to let go. But I'm seeing that it's like this part of, or the role of my behavior, my awareness of what I want to accomplish. I can't just go like willy-nilly.
Yes.
So I learned that tonight. So I want to thank you so much for that.
Yeah. So make the effort and set the intention, but then, like as Richard said, then relax.
Oh.
So you got to set the intention to arrive on the meditation, and then relax. But that's wonderful. I'm glad that that's useful for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This coming Saturday is Vesak at the Dhamma Monastery in Pengrove, and that's an in-person event only. So if you're around, you may go there. Then on Sunday, instead of the usual Sunday morning meditation, they're having a special precepts program for people who want to renew their precepts. That's a Zoom program. For those who are living in Fremont, some of you might know Venerable Hantri, who has a place in the Niles district called the Peace Pagoda. She used to teach at the Wat Bunanosar Dhamma Tuesday group. So myself and several other bhikkhunis are going down to Fremont on this Sunday, the 11th, to participate in the Vesak at the Peace Pagoda. So I'm sure it's an open event if you're in that area and would like to go there and visit. Then